pimento cheese at a wedding, deviled eggs at a funeral. These weren't just recipes, they were rules you couldn't break. Yet by the 2000s, supermarket shelves started emptying, and old cookbooks gathered dust. Families drifted, recipes got lost. When did Southern food stop feeling like home? The truth might shock you, and you're about to see it happen one plate at a time. Today, you'll learn the real stories behind 20 Redneck Granny favorites. 20. Tomato Aspic. Tomato aspic looks like a weird red jelly salad, but my granny thought it was fancy. In the 1950s and 1960s, if your family had a fridge, you could make these wobbly salads with gelatin. Tomato aspic was just tomato juice, onions, celery, spices, and plain gelatin, poured into a mold and left in the fridge to set. Granny would bring it out for family dinners, holidays, or funerals. People at the table would slice off a piece and sometimes put a spoonful of mayonnaise on top. Not everyone liked it, but everyone took some because it showed you had good manners. Jello even sold a tomato-flavored gelatin for a while, just for salads like this, but it didn't last long because most people preferred the homemade version. Tomato aspic was a sign that you were fancy in the South, even if kids thought it was strange. 19. Lime Jello salad. Lime Jello salad made every table look like a party. In Granny's time, Jello wasn't just for dessert. People used it to make salads out of almost anything. Lime Jello, canned pineapple, sometimes cottage cheese or nuts, and even marshmallows went into a mold. These salads became popular during the Great Depression and World War II because you could stretch small amounts of fruit or leftovers into something that looked special. Refrigerators were expensive, so showing off a fancy jiggly mold meant you had some money. By the 1950s, housewives made these colorful Jello salads for picnics, church dinners, and family holidays. Some kids liked the sweet taste, others just liked how it looked. People still talk about Jello salad online, with some remembering it as fun and others making jokes. Either way, a green Jello salad on the table meant Granny was ready to show off her skills and make something from almost nothing. 18. Pear salad. Pear salad looks like dessert, but Granny called it a salad. She put a canned pear half on a lettuce leaf, add a spoonful of mayonnaise, and sprinkle some shredded cheddar cheese on top. It sounds odd, but in the South, this was a sign you were eating well. Back then, fresh fruit could be expensive or out of season, but canned fruit lasted all year. People made these salads fast when company came over. Magazines and church cookbooks shared all sorts of versions. The pear salad was cheap, easy, and looked pretty on a plate. Some people added cherries or pecans if they wanted to get fancy. Kids were always curious and sometimes a little confused by the taste: sweet fruit, tangy mayo, and salty cheese. It became a regular side for Sunday dinners or special occasions. Pear salad turned cheap ingredients into something you'd be proud to serve to guests. 17. Ambrosia. Ambrosia sounds fancy, but really it's just a sweet fruit salad. The name comes from Greek myths, where ambrosia was food for the gods. In Granny's kitchen, it was usually canned pineapple, oranges, coconut, and sometimes marshmallows or pecans, all mixed in a big bowl. People made ambrosia for holidays like Christmas or Easter. It felt special because, in the past, oranges and coconut were expensive and hard to get. Recipes for ambrosia show up in old Southern cookbooks from the 1800s. When canned fruit became cheap, families could enjoy it any time. Ambrosia meant you were celebrating something, and it always showed up on big tables for family meals. It's a little messy, always sweet and easy for kids to help make. Even though food trends change, some families still put out ambrosia for every holiday, reminding everyone of old stories and big gatherings. 16. Fried bologna sandwich. Fried bologna sandwiches were a favorite when money was tight. Bologna was cheap, lasted a long time in the fridge, and you could fry it to make a quick meal. Granny would cut thick slices, toss them in a hot skillet, and let the edges curl up. The house would fill with a smell that meant lunch was almost ready. She put the fried bologna on white bread with a squirt of mustard or sometimes a slice of cheese. During hard times like the Great Depression, bologna sandwiches saved many families. It was called poor man's steak because it was filling but cost very little. Even today, diners in small towns still serve fried bologna sandwiches. For many people, just one bite brings back childhood memories of crowded kitchens and simple lunches that tasted great. Fried bologna proved you could make a satisfying meal with almost nothing. 15. Chow Chow. Chow Chow is a pickled relish that saves a lot of summer vegetables from going to waste. It's made from chopped green tomatoes, cabbage, onions, and peppers, all mixed with vinegar and spices. Granny would make big batches at the end of the summer, stuffing jars to last through winter. Nobody agrees where Chow Chow started. Some say the South, some say Canada, others say Chinese railroad workers brought the idea. Families passed down their own recipes, and every jar tasted a bit different, some sweet, some spicy. Granny put Chow Chow on beans, greens, or even hot dogs. It added a sharp, tangy kick that made plain food more exciting. In farming families, nothing got wasted, and Chow Chow proved you could stretch the garden far past the first frost. Every time you opened a jar, it felt like tasting a piece of summer, even in the coldest months. 14. Pimento Cheese. Pimento cheese is a bright orange spread found in nearly every southern fridge. Granny made it with grated cheddar, chopped jarred pimentos, and lots of mayonnaise. Sometimes she added a bit of onion or a dash of hot sauce. Pimento cheese started in the north with cream cheese and Spanish pimentos, but the South made it their own with cheddar and homemade tweaks. By the 1920s and 1930s, it was everywhere, spread on crackers, tucked into sandwiches, or stuffed in celery sticks for parties. People called it Carolina caviar, and even served it at weddings and fancy lunches. At golf tournaments like the Masters, pimento cheese sandwiches are famous. Big cities now sell it in trendy restaurants, but for Granny, it was always a way to use up cheese and feed everyone. One small bowl could stretch into snacks for a whole crowd, and everyone always came back for more. 13. Old school squash casserole. Squash casserole was the answer to too many yellow squash in the summer. Southern gardens grow squash fast, and by July, there's more than any one family can eat fresh. Granny sliced it up with onions, stirred in cream soup and eggs, and covered it with buttery crackers before baking. This dish showed up at every church potluck, holiday, and family reunion. It was warm, soft, and had a crunchy top that kids fought over. In the past, wasting food wasn't an option, so casseroles like this helped families use every last bit. Recipes for squash casserole fill old cookbooks, and some versions add cheese or bacon if you had extra on hand. It always disappeared fast, and if there were leftovers, someone took them home for breakfast. Squash casserole proved that even the most common garden vegetable could taste special with just a few simple tricks. 12. Meatloaf with Ketchup Glaze. Meatloaf was the meal that fed everyone when money was tight. Granny made hers by chopping up whatever meat was left in the fridge, beef, pork, or even sausage, and mixing it with breadcrumbs or oats, onions, and eggs. She shaped it into a loaf, smeared ketchup on top, and baked it until the outside was sticky and sweet. During the Great Depression, families had to make every bit of meat stretch, so meatloaf was popular all over America. The ketchup glaze became a classic, making the top extra tasty. Meatloaf was served hot for dinner, and cold slices went into lunch sandwiches the next day. Everyone claimed their family's recipe was the best. Even picky eaters usually liked it because it was soft and filling. Meatloaf proved that with a little imagination, leftovers could feed a crowd and still taste great. 11. Deviled eggs. Deviled eggs are a simple snack that became the star of every party. Granny boiled a dozen eggs, peeled them, and sliced them in half. She scooped out the yolks, mixed them with mayo, mustard, and a little relish, then stuffed the creamy filling back into the whites. A sprinkle of paprika on top made them look fancy. Every family had its own secret recipe. Some liked extra mustard, others added hot sauce or chopped pickles. At family gatherings, deviled eggs disappeared first from the table. People would judge your cooking skills by how good your deviled eggs tasted. Egg plates with little wells for each half were treasured gifts, often passed down from one generation to the next. Deviled eggs were cheap, easy to make in big batches, and always popular. They made everyone feel like they belonged at the table. 10. Pinto beans and ham hock. Pinto beans cooked with a ham hock were a sign that supper was going to be hearty and filling. Granny would soak the beans overnight, then simmer them all day with a leftover ham bone or a chunk of salt pork. The smoky, salty flavors soaked into the beans, and the whole house smelled amazing by dinner. This meal was cheap and full of protein. Families across the South and Appalachia relied on beans and ham hock during hard times. Beans were easy to store and lasted all winter. Ham hock gave the beans flavor without needing a lot of meat. Granny always served beans with cornbread and sometimes chopped onions on top. A big pot could feed the family for days, and leftovers tasted even better. Pinto beans and ham hock proved that simple, slow-cooked food could be the most satisfying of all. 9. Collard greens and pot liquor. Collard greens simmered for hours with a bit of smoked meat were a mainstay in Granny's kitchen. She'd chop a bunch of greens, throw them in a pot with ham or bacon, and let them cook down until they were soft and full of flavor. The liquid left in the pot, called pot liquor, was full of vitamins and minerals. This meal came from deep roots. African cooks brought their knowledge of greens to America, and collards became a symbol of survival and strength. Pot liquor was so prized that some elders drank it straight from the bowl or soaked it up with cornbread. Collard greens showed up at Sunday dinners, holidays, and family reunions. They were cheap, healthy, and kept everyone full. The story of collard greens is the story of families making the most out of what they had and passing down traditions that mattered. 8. Fried okra. Fried okra was a crunchy snack that everyone looked forward to in the summer. Granny would slice fresh okra into little rounds, dip them in cornmeal, and fry them until golden. Okra originally came from Africa, brought over by enslaved people who knew how to grow it in tough soil. A lot of folks didn't like okra stewed because it turned slimy, but fried okra was another story. The little pieces popped in your mouth like popcorn, and kids grabbed them by the handful. Every southern diner and soul food restaurant still serves fried okra, usually as a side for fried chicken or catfish. Okra plants grew like weeds in backyard gardens, and frying them was a way to make sure none went to waste. Every plate of fried okra told a story about history, family, and making the best out of what you had. 7. Skillet cornbread. Skillet cornbread is basic, but it's a must for any southern meal. Granny mixed cornmeal, a bit of flour, buttermilk, eggs, and a splash of bacon grease. She poured the batter into a hot cast iron skillet and baked it until the edges turned crisp and brown. You could hear the knife scrape the pan before you smelled the bread. Cornbread goes way back. Native Americans grew and ground corn long before Europeans arrived. Settlers learned to make cornbread because wheat was hard to grow in the South. For a lot of families, cornbread was cheaper and easier than wheat bread. Some liked it sweet, others insisted on no sugar. It always showed up with beans, greens, or stew. Cornbread wasn't just food, it was a way to fill up hungry bellies with something that tasted good, even when times were rough. 6. Peach Cobbler. Peach cobbler brought excitement to the table, especially when the peaches came straight from the backyard tree or a local farm stand. Granny made it with sliced peaches, sugar, cinnamon, and thick dough on top. She baked it until the top turned golden and the fruit bubbled around the edges. Cobbler recipes go back to the days when settlers baked over open fires with simple tools. Enslaved cooks in the South added their own touches, making peach cobbler into the dessert we love now. Abby Fisher, a formerly enslaved cook, published a peach cobbler recipe in 1881. By the 1950s, Georgia declared a National Peach Cobbler Day to sell more peaches. Warm cobbler with ice cream always disappeared fast. Even today, people argue about the best kind of topping: thick dough, thin crust, or even biscuits. Peach cobbler proved simple fruit could turn into pure comfort. 5. Banana pudding. Banana pudding feels like summer and Sunday dinners. Granny layered vanilla wafers, fresh banana slices, and creamy custard in a big glass dish. Sometimes she'd top it with meringue or whipped cream, depending on what she had. Banana pudding recipes show up as early as 1903, but the South grabbed hold of it and made it a tradition. Bananas used to be rare until refrigerated rail cars brought them from Gulf ports to Kentucky, which became known as the Banana Crossroads of America. Nabisco's Nilla wafers made the dessert even more popular, putting the recipe right on the box. People still debate if pudding should be served hot or cold, with meringue or whipped cream, but everyone agrees it's a classic. One spoonful takes you straight back to family reunions and Grandma's kitchen. 4. Chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings always brought everyone to the table. Granny started with a whole chicken, boiled it to make rich broth, then dropped biscuit dough into the bubbling pot. The dumplings soaked up all the chicken flavor and turned fluffy and soft. This dish is famous for stretching one chicken into a meal big enough for a crowd. Families made chicken and dumplings in hard times, swapping chicken for whatever meat they had. Some used rabbit or leftover ham and still called it chicken and dumplings because the dumplings were the main attraction. It's a favorite comfort food all across the South and Midwest, and even shows up in parts of Canada. No one ever left the table hungry. The best part was always the leftovers, when the dumplings got even thicker the next day. This meal proved you didn't need much money to eat well. 3. Biscuits and Sawmill gravy. Biscuits and Sawmill gravy started as logging camp food. Workers needed a big breakfast to make it through long days. Granny made biscuits from flour, baking powder, and buttermilk, then smothered them in white gravy made from sausage drippings, flour, and milk. The gravy got its name because sawmill workers made it in huge pots over open fires. It was cheap, filling, and kept people going until lunch. In mining towns, some families made bulldog gravy with just fat, flour, and water because meat cost too much. By the 1900s, biscuits and gravy showed up in diners everywhere. It's still a favorite in the South, and every family has its own secret for perfect biscuits. Some like them tall and fluffy, others like them thin and crispy. Biscuits and gravy proved you could start your day strong with just a few simple ingredients. 2. Collards, beans, and cornbread. Collards, beans, and cornbread was a meal that filled up every belly and kept families going. Granny would simmer collard greens with a bit of pork, cook a pot of beans, and bake a pan of cornbread. This trinity showed up on Southern tables almost every week. Corn grew better than wheat, beans stored well, and collard greens could be picked again and again. In black communities, these foods meant more than just dinner. They brought luck, wealth, and good health, especially on New Year's Day. Old stories say if you eat greens, beans, and cornbread on January 1st, you'll have money all year. This meal gave families fiber, protein, and vitamins long before people talked about healthy diets. Granny didn't need science to tell her these foods were good for you. She just knew they kept everyone strong through hard times. 1. Cast iron fried chicken. Cast iron fried chicken meant it was time for something special. Granny would soak the chicken pieces, coat them in seasoned flour, and fry them in a big cast iron skillet until crispy. The crackling sound let everyone know dinner was close. Southern fried chicken comes from mixing Scottish pan frying with West African spices and American farm chickens. It went from Sunday dinners to roadside stands, then all the way to famous fast food chains. In the U.S., people eat about 127 pounds of poultry every year, and fried chicken ranks as one of the most loved foods. But in Granny's kitchen, fried chicken meant family, stories, and making sure every kid got their favorite piece. She never measured her seasoning, but the chicken came out perfect every time. Fried chicken was more than food. It was celebration and comfort in one bite. So many stories get lost with time, but every old recipe brings back a piece of the past. If you're ready for more secrets and surprises, just tap the next video now.